So, hi everyone. Welcome to the session. And myself, Gopal Samir Rajendran, I'm going to talk about securing the heartbeat of modern applications. So, which is under on API security. So, let's jump into the session. So, today's content is what is API, then why API security, and then we are going to discuss about OS top 10 APIs, and then we are going to do some automations on the API security part and testing tips. I'm going to share when you are while you are approaching an API target, how few tips about that, and then Q&A session. And I'm going to share some few resources which help me while I start learning API security. So who am I? Myself, I'm myself Gopal Sami Rajendran, and I'm from India basically. So totally, I have 5+ years of experience, and I'm not from IT background or computer background. I'm from a civil engineering background. Later, I got interest into information security, and then started learning and jumped into it. And then right now, I'm working as a senior consultant at Protivity India Member Limited, and I'm the chapter leader for OWASP Kadalur chapter. And right now, I'm holding certifications like OSCP, CRTP, and CBSP, which is a blockchain related certification. And then I had experience, I'm having experience on web, Android network cloud, API, and blockchain based penetration testing and vulnerability assessments, and contributor at multiple international cybersecurity communities. Also, I do have my own YouTube channel, which is in my regional language called InfoSec Tamil. And then I used to travel. I love traveling. So I used to travel to different part and explore things. So that's all about me. Let's quickly jump into the section. So what is API? Hopefully everyone might have heard about this word in this, especially in this modern technology, right? So API everywhere, a lot of APIs right now being utilized by developers. So API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it's basically a rule set of rules that actually allows two softwares to interact with each other. It's like, for example, it's like ordering a food. So if you go to a restaurant and order your food to the waiter, he will take to the kitchen, and chef will be preparing for you, and he will get that food and give it to you. So that here basically the waiter is the API. So he is taking, I mean, from front end it will take some input, and it will take it to the back end, and from back end response, it will take the response from the back end and give it to you in the front end. So this is the basic of API. And why API security? So especially in the previous slide itself, I've told a lot of developers have started utilizing APIs in their for developing web. Either maybe it is a web or mobile or anything. So nowadays, usage of API is very large. So that's where the play comes into. So when it is being utilized by a large number of people, and then automatically we were supposed to, I mean, there will be a lot of security issues as well, right? So that's the reason, that's the main reason actually for API security. So we should utilize it. So and then API play a crucial role in the modern technology, and highly important that as it enables a seamless communication between two different software. So it is very important. So it deals with a lot of sensitive things. So we have to take care of the security part and contributing the digital ecosystem. A lot of applications are utilizing APIs. So to protect sensitive informations and unauthorized access to the to those sensitive informations, and obviously to prevent data breach, we actually need uh, this API security. And authentication versus authorization. When you are jumping into API security, you will be hearing about lot of times. You will hear about these two terms, authentication, authorization. These terms you will hear a lot of time. So authentication is basically confirming your identity, ensuring that you are the one who is actually claiming, you are the one, you are the authorized person to get in. And example, I can say authentication is like showing your ID card in the entrance and confirm that you are the person, whereas authorization is just because you are having an ID card, you cannot enter into any rooms. So you'll be having some restrictions to enter certain premises, right? So those if you like, that is called authorization. So you can enter into these premises and you cannot enter into that premises, like that. There will be some restrictions, right? So that is what the authorization means by. So authentication is basically an ID card where which helps you to get into some building or office or somewhere else. And whereas authorization is like you are the authorized person to enter that room, and you are not an authorized person to that kind of thing. basically roles and responsibilities kind of thing. Okay, so JWT token. This term also you will hear it a lot of time when you are getting into API security. JWT token is like a digital ID card which is given to you by the server after authentication, and after that it will be used for every authorization purpose. And the next thing is role-based access control, which is called as, in short, we used to call it as RBAC. So RBAC is basically assigning your roles. So each and every individual will have their own roles. Either an admin, this user will be having admin access, the next level access, and user access, like that. It will be there. So those kind of roles and are being assigned to a person based on this role-based access control. And then this is I've decoded an JWT token for your reference. I'll show it to you later how we can decode a JWT token and see the contents of it later in the session. I'll show it to you. So just a sample. Here you can see under the JWT string, I have given a JWT token, and below that you can see the contents of it. So it is being encoded, base64 encoded, and you can see those contents here. So the next thing is OWASP top 10 API security vulnerabilities. We usually people hear about and talk about OWASP top 10 from web perspective or mobile perspective. And yes, OWASP also is having top 10 for API as well. So these are all the top 10 vulnerabilities released in 2023. So the first one is broken object level authorization, then broken authentication, followed by broken object property level authorization, and then unrestricted resource consumption, and unrestricted broken function level authorization. There is a bit confused. You will get confused between these terms. The first one, broken object level authorization, and broken object property level authorization, and function level authorization. I'll explain it to you in the later slide. So you just note it down, okay? And unrestricted access to sensitive business flows, then server side request forgery, and then security misconfiguration and improper inventory management and unsafe consumption of APIs. So these are all the top 10 OWASP top 10 categories for 2023. So let's let's discuss about each and everything in detail with examples and demos. Okay, so first, broken object level authorization, so which we call it as BOLA. It's basically accessing other users resource, which is you won't be the owner of that resource, but still you will be accessing that particular resource then of another user. Then it comes under broken object level authorization. So this actually occurs due to the lack of permission checks on the resources and on objects. Here below I have given you an example request. So there is a get parameter which is going for profile. So it's basically trying to retrieve get profile details from example.com, and there is an authorization token is being provided of an user. But here the next thing. Next, in this request, you can see there is a user ID parameter, which is an addition to it, and it's pointing out to a specific user. So 123, the user number is 123. So user ID is 123, and if you are changing that ID to something else like 456 or 789, something to other user, and if you are able to see the profile details of that user, then it falls under broken object level authorization. Okay, let's see a quick demo, so you will understand it even better. Here it is. I'm using CR API, which is Crazy API or Crappy or something we used to call it. This is basically, you can find it from GitHub, which is OWASP is the developer for this vulnerable application. You can install it easily with the help of Docker, and you can set it up. You can use it. So it is very easy to install. Everything is available on the GitHub. In this URL, when you are visiting this URL, you can find things, and this repo is maintained by OWASP. You can see the installation instructions here, and you can follow it. Otherwise, you can use crazyapi.api-stack.ai. Yeah, I got the correct URL. So you can directly go to this URL, and you can directly sign up and explore it. Here, there is a location section. Okay, so here this is I've logged in as Gopalsamy Rajendran, and this is the location of my vehicle. So I've added a vehicle to my profile, and this is the location of my vehicle. So what I'm going to do is just going to intercept the request. I'm going to turn on our burp suite. So hopefully you would know about burp suite. I think it's basically an interception tool which helps you to intercept the traffic which is going and coming from going to the server and coming from the server. It's basically a proxy tool which helps you to intercept the traffic, the request and all. Okay, so I've turned on the intercept, and this is the request which was supposed to go to the server. Okay, so what I'm doing here, you can see it's trying to fetch the location of this particular ID, this particular vehicle ID. Here the play is, let me do it again. I need that request. I might take it from the history, but if you are a beginner, you won't know it, right? So that's why I'm doing it again. Here, let me close this. Okay. So here you can see vehicle ID. So what I'll do, I'll go to the community tab, and there were a lot of posts here, right? So I'll click on any one of the post, and response. So here you can see the vehicle ID of that particular user is being leaked in their post details. So what I'm doing, I'm just taking the vehicle ID and putting it here and replacing that with my vehicle ID, and send that information. And I'm getting the location details of that vehicle, so of another user's vehicle. So here it was supposed to be, I was supposed to see only the location of my vehicle, but what I'm actually seeing here is the location of another user's vehicle. Now you might get a question like, how you can guess these IDs? It's very long, it's very huge, and it is undetectable, right? So there is a blog already written by Joseph Thacker, I think, Res Zero. So he wrote a blog about this, about undetectable IDORs. So where he speaks about, if you are able to retrieve such IDs, still it is actually considered as an IDOR, and it is being exploitable, and it is a valid vulnerability. So here I got these ID from the post, so which was supposed not to be shared on a via comments or post or somewhere else, but I've got it from there and just replaced it and got the location details of another user. This is a perfect example for Bola, and hopefully you'd have, okay, if you have any questions, do drop it in the chat box, so I'll at last I'll answer to those questions.
Yeah, there's one
So
question.
broken. Okay. So yeah, tell me.
Someone is asking if you can explain OAuth 2.0.
We were talking about explain about OAuth 2.0 in the sense like I've
Yeah.
seen that's from Harshavat. So what exactly can you be more specific? What is question?
Yeah, he is saying, can you please explain OAuth 2.0 as we are talking about YBT and authorization? But yeah, that's all I have.
I'm seeing that question. So that's what I'm asking. So what exactly is actually trying to do? In generally is asking, or
Let's wait till he perhaps
yeah.
responds back.
Yes.
Just go further.
Yeah, I'm having it on the right, on the left side, so I can see it. Okay, fine. Broken authentication. It occurs due to insecure mechanism, insufficient mechanism for user authentication. Usually, when we are logging into any system, we used to enter a password, username, password, or any type of authentication mechanism will be provided for a user, and it will be they will be allowed to authenticate. So, for example, the OAuth will be applicable to this. So, if a user if the OAuth is not implemented properly, then yeah, if the OAuth is not properly implemented, then that comes under broken authentication, and we can actually access other users' information as well, and we can even get logged account takeover on that. So let me explain you. Since the question is about OAuth, I'll explain you a previous scenario which I have came across. So one application I was testing, they have implemented the OAuth, so where we were supposed to log in with either with sign in with Gmail or Facebook or something like that. Any social media logins are allowed. So what happens? The OAuth process will be completed, and the Gmail has to. I mean, the Google has to suppose for example, Google means it has to supposed to send a token, right? So along with that token, they are sending, the developer is getting the email parameter. So what happens? The email parameter is coming to the coming to the website, and there, if I'm making any changes to the email parameter and forward it to the server, it is actually allowing me to log in as that user. So it's basically there is a improper validation, so which actually leads to an account takeover. So I can replace that email ID with other users' email ID, and it is being validated, and I was able to access to that user's account. So this is a perfect example for this. Since you asked about that question, I was explaining this, and that will be a thing. And it's like broken authentication is like you are securing your building with a broken lock. So that's the you will be having a lock, right? So if it is broken and still you are putting it on your doors, and you will think like it is secure, it's same like that. And under broken authentication, weak password, these vulnerabilities will come. So weak password, session management related vulnerabilities, weak token validation, and even rate limiting. So will fall under this. Rate limiting in the sense OTPs, OTP mechanism. In OTP validation and all, we used to check for the rate. I mean, if there is no rate limiting, then we can exploit that vulnerability, right? So that falls under broken authentication. So this is a perfect example for this is also from a previous scenario. So I have worked on an application, and this is I've created a replica of that request, a kind of, okay, so not exactly, but still a kind of replica. So let me explain you the scenario. Here you can see user ID and along with password, and there is another request. There is a user ID and along with a password. If you notice, both the passwords are same. It is static. Okay, so what happens? Basically, the developer in the first request, before this there was a request. So in that there is a validation, OTP validation, where the customer has to, it's a mobile application, so they have to enter the email ID, and the OTP will be sent to that particular email ID. And after that, OTP login page will be coming. We have to verify that OTP, and the immediate next request followed by that OTP validation, this request was going into the server. Here you can see the ID, and they are using a static password. The password field was containing having a static password along with the user ID. Here what I did, I changed the user ID to another user, and still it was working and allowing me to access that user. So there was a improper validation, and there is a broken authentication. So that's the reason I was able to access to that user's account, so another user's account. This is a perfect example. You might think like it looks very easy, right? And it looks very weird as well, but it happened for me one time, and I have reported that vulnerability. So just an example, if you are testing API or applications, you can try these test cases in your while performing your testing. And this is, I've explained it, and it led to me an account takeover vulnerability. This is actually I've did it for this is not for bug bounty programs. I did it on during my work itself. So thing. And broken object property level authorization, this is the next vulnerability. It's actually a combination of two vulnerabilities. Previously in 2019, it was excessive data exposure, and mass assignment was a different bugs. And this under this vulnerability, they have clubbed in 2023. OWASP clubbed these two vulnerabilities and put and marked it and combined it together and marked it as broken object property level authorization. So BOLA is BOPLA. So it's actually BOPLA. I've written as BOLA. So BOPLA occurs due to the improper permission checks on the resources or the property. It is basically a vulnerability. You will be able to view a specific resource without proper authorization. You might feel confused, but I have an example for that to explain it to you people, so that you can understand the difference between BOLA, BOPLA, and BOFLA. So these three things, okay? So here you can see this is a sample request. Here you can see there is a get parameter, a get method is being passed to this parameter. Post ID is 456. So there is a post here. Basically, we are retrieving a post. Okay, from let's consider this as a social media. So we are trying to retrieve a post details on this request, and immediately the following request you can see there was an addition, show comments true, which means you are able to see that post. Basically you are only allowed to see that post, but what you're doing, you are adding another parameter, show comments, which is equal to true. This was supposed to be accessible only for your account. You can see your comments, but you cannot see other users post comments, right? But what you are doing, you are changing the post ID to another user's post ID, and you are adding the same parameter, show comments is equal to true here, and you are able to see other users post comments also. So this is a vulnerability, right? You are seeing other users comments, which you are not supposed to do it, but you are doing it here. So that comes under broken object property level authorization. Okay, as I said, I'll explain you with an example so you can feel the difference between these three categories, which looks very similar. Unrestricted resource consumption. So this is basically our denial of service or OTP delivery, the race condition, right? So I'll show you a demo so you can easily understand that. Here it is. Let me log out as usual. Forgot password. Okay. So when I'm clicking on send OTP, it basically sent a OTP to my email ID, and it's asking for the OTP and followed by the new password. Okay. So what happens here is, let me type something else. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Here you're seeing the OTP. I have typed some OTP and password for this email ID. I'll put it on intruder and going to set a payload to numbers.
He has enlightened his question with the following text. My question is how Google enabled third-party size applications to access specific data of user. I have studied about authentication, but I have not clear idea about that. That's his question.
So basically, OAuth is when OAuth is being implemented, you will see. Well, let's take an example. You would have came across with websites that is having sign in with Google or sign in with Facebook or something options like that, right? So when you are clicking on it, it will redirect to the Google website, and you will be entering some information, your information, basically your password and username which you are having for Google, right? Then later Google checks that whether you are the authorized person, and if you are having MFA, after that MFA it will create a it will create a token for you, OAuth token, and it will be that token will be shared with this person, I mean the website which is requesting for that information, right? It will share, and that's how the session was created with the help of Google. And this is applicable for Facebook and other similar for like Microsoft or whatever which is utilizing OAuth. So this is how it works. So it basically generates a session token for you, OAuth token, and it is being shared with this website, and based on that the current website which you are using it for, which you are going to use, right? It will handle that session for a specific time. So it depends on how it is being set at the session timing and management session. It's based on the session management, how long the session should be active, all those things. So this is how it actually works. This is how Google actually allows third parties to utilize Google for allowing users to log into their website. Hope this answers your question. And here OTP. So I'm marking this particular place for the attack to be initiated. There will be 10,000 requests, and since I'm using community edition, it will take a long time. But there is one thing is here. So if you see after few requests, after 7 requests, it throwed 503, right? So it means in the response I can see it's blocking my request. You are exceeded with the number of attempts. So here means the rate limit has been placed. So I cannot send request more than a specific request. It doesn't take it. So it's saying 50. You have exceeded the number of attempts. But here there is an vulnerability. So let me discard this. What happens here is they have implemented version 3 here. The API version is 3. Okay. If I'm changing it to 2 and do the initiate the same request, it will actually work. It won't give 503, and there is a rate limiting vulnerability which actually sends n number of OTPs to this mail IDs. So you can see a lot of OTPs are coming into this mail, which is being generated from here. So this is a perfect example for rate limiting, and I'll give you another real world example which happened during my previous testing. So what happened? There was a OTP generation page. So where they are utilizing a third party to send OTPs to the specific customers. If they want to log in, some OTPs will be shared with the help of that third party website. So what happened? Previously, we reported the vulnerability that rate limiting was not there, but they rejected the vulnerability considering they told they have additional prevention mechanisms in the backend, and it won't actually allow the attacker to initiate multiple requests. But somehow the attacker initiated that request, the OTP request, and the next day the customer was, the third party charged them $10,000 around like that, and they were supposed to pay that money just because that much resource consumption was there. So unrestricted resource consumption, there were lot of resource consumption was there, and the operational cost was very high. So that's a perfect example. So whenever you find rate limiting, create a perfect POC, that is proof of concept, and explain the opposite person, the client or the person whom you are testing for. So explain them the issues which they are going to face. So it happened, and they were supposed to pay $10,000 for that. If they would have placed a proper validation before itself, then that charge doesn't come, right? So this is one example for this. And here you can see there is a post request which actually sends OTP to this particular number, and there were no validation here. So there were no rate limiting or headers or something, no protection here. So there will be a lot of resource consumption. And I've shown you the demo as well. And broken function level authorization. So if it basically if an user, regular user, takes admin privileges and perform certain admin activities, then this actually falls under broken function level authorization. So basically, you are utilizing admin privileges, and you are performing certain actions. So here you can see in this particular request, only admins can actually create a post. Okay, create a post. But here, what happens if you are able to create the post with your authorization token? Then obviously you are taking admin privileges, and you are performing admin actions, right? So that is a perfect example for this BFLA, BFLA, or something you can call it as you want, as you like. So let me show you a demo for this as well. Then I'll compare these three and give you and explain it to you very clearly. So let's take the application. I'll log into this again. And here, there is a functionality where you can upload your personal videos to your profile. So let's consider this as a website, and you are allowed to upload your personal videos and to this website, and you can edit the names or change the video, or these actions you can perform. Here, I'm going to change the name from Mist. Okay. From ABC to Mist, and I'm capturing the request and changing the name. Send to repeater. Here, put request is there. So what I'm going to see, first I'll check what are all the methods are actually being allowed here. So what methods are being allowed in this request? So here you can see the methods allowed are put, get, head, delete, and options. Here the interesting thing is delete. I can able to delete this post, this video from this website. So what I'm doing, changing the method to delete and sending the request, and it's saying 404 and saying in the response, it is the message is, this is an admin function. Try to access the admin API. Okay, and the status is 403. So what I'm going to do is, here you can see in the request path, it's mentioned as user. So now I'm going to change it to admin, and you can see the user video has been deleted successfully. So similarly, another vulnerability is there, which is I can also delete, since there is a broken function level authorization. So I can even, now I'm having the admin rights, right? So I can even delete other users' posts just by changing the IDs. So 51, 52, 50, like that. I can initiate I can initiate intruder attack against this and perform the attack. So there is no video with this ID. Similarly, I can basically brute force the IDs and delete other users' videos as well, since I'm having the admin access. And I'm going back to the slide. Hopefully, if you have any questions related to this demo or the things which I'm talking about, please drop it in the chat box so I can answer to your questions. This is for broken function level authorization. So you are confused about broken function level authorization, broken object level authorization, and broken object property level authorization, right? So let me decode it. Let me give you a simple answer for that. So let's consider broken function level authorization as your college or university, and broken object level authorization as your department, and broken object property level authorization as your classroom. So you are a person whom first, let's take the first example. If it's like someone who is not at all a student of that college. If you are not at all let's consider that as we are considering that as a college or university, right? So first of all, if you are a student of that college or university, then only they will allow you to enter into that particular college or university. So if you are not at all a student, then how they are going to allow you inside that college? So it's not possible, right? So you're the security or the one who is in the gate, they will check your ID, and since you are not having the college ID, you won't be allowed to enter. So now let's take an example that you have entered into the college. You are not a student of that college, and you have entered into that college and performed some administrative actions on that office or any other buildings. Then that falls under broken function. You are actually exploiting the function itself, the main thing itself. So that falls under broken function level authorizations, where you have exploited and entered into the college itself. Let's say you are the student of the next example is, you are the student of that college, but you are from a different department. So let's take you are from a computer science department, and you are not supposed to enter into an electrical department, right? But you have entered into the electrical department. You are a part of that college, and you are from computer department, and you are entering into an electrical department and performing some activities, means then that falls under BOLA. You are entering into that particular department, and you are performing some actions, right? So that is BOLA. And then property level authorization. So you are from that college, you are from that same department, computer science department, but the computer science department is having two different classes, and you are not supposed to visit the you are from class A, and you won't be allowed to enter into class B, but still you are entering, then that falls under BOPLA. So this would be the perfect example for you guys to understand the difference between these three things, right? And the first one, function level authorization, you can easily remember that if you are performing any administrative related activities as a user, then that particular thing falls under this category of vulnerability. Then unrestricted access to sensitive business flows. This is basically you are exploiting a business flow. There might be a business flow, and you are exploiting that particular business flow and doing exploiting the target means that falls under unrestricted access to the sensitive business flows. Unrestricted access to sensitive business flow means that someone can perform actions or access a part of business process that they are not supposed to. So it's like having an access to important company operations or secrets without a proper authorization. Here you can see in the request, this request belongs to belongs to a send referral invitation. So you are suppose you are I mean sending invitation to any user. Okay, you can send invitation to any user, and once that user sign up, you are given with some credits. So based on it's like basically the invitation referral program. So we used to see, right? Here the business logic flow is the logic was supposed to be designed like in this way, that where once your invite your friend receives your invite, he has to sign up, and then after successful sign up, you have to get some credits for that sign up, and you can utilize those credits. But what actually happens here is the credit is being deposited to your account once you send a successful invitation. So here the flow is supposed to be it should be the amount should be credited to your account after successful sign up. But here due to the improper validation, it is actually being credited to your account once the invitation is has been sent to your friend. So it is not checking whether that particular user has signed up or not. In this way, you can send multiple invitation and you can get lot of credits to your account. Hope you understand this concept. So that's what I've explained it here. This falls under unrestricted access to sensitive business flows. So this is a sensitive business flow, and you are having unrestricted access, and you are getting lot of credits to your account, right? So that falls under this category of vulnerability. And the server-side request forgery, you might have heard it a number of times, and this is a quite popular vulnerability as well. You would have seen it in the web application during your web application assessments. So SSRF is basically allows an attacker to force a server to perform any request to resources or services or servers internal files or networks. Okay, so give you an example so you can comparison kind of thing so you can easily understand. You would have heard about clients cross-site request forgery, right? So cross-site request forgery, you are forcing an user to make an unintended request or unintended action on their account. So similar to that, so in server-side request forgery, you will force the server to make unintended request to either an internal network or an external system and perform such malicious activities. So that is the difference, and now you would have you might easily understand. Let me show you a demo for this as well. So here you can see contact mechanic option is there. Okay. Here in the response, you can see, let me keep it in the repeater so you can understand it better. Okay, here I'm sending this to the server. Cannot this request. Type. Now I'm intercepting this request. Here you can see there is a request being sent to a website. Okay, what I'm going to do is here I'll replace it with external website, which is google.com. I'm using community edition, so I cannot use the collaborator here. So that's the reason I'm using google.com. Okay, here you can see the google.com's content has been rendered here. I'll show you a quick another example. I have hosted, let me check my IP. Let's go. I've hosted an internal website, local website. Let's try to render that file, so it will be a good example. v/txt. See, it is rendering the content of that particular file, hi.txt, from this website. I can see the hit from here, the traffic from here. The request is successful, and I was able to perform SSRF. Here, I'll tell you another test case here. You can also try delivering. You can host your own files somewhere else, and you can try to exploit RFI. It doesn't works in most of the cases, but still you can try to render similar such things. So if you are seeing URLs, not only SSRF thing, you can also try to render external URLs. Suppose, for example, the website might not allow users to render contents from external website, and if you were able to render contents from external website, that is obviously a vulnerability. This is just a test case, and you can utilize it when you're during your testing. And so here I've given you a sample request, and security misconfiguration, it basically occurs due to the what I can say, the security configuration, the secure configuration which is being there for the security purpose is being misconfigured. So that is where the security problem arises. And based on under this, basically sensitive informations will be exposed. And based on this, most of the vulnerabilities when you take, it will be because of the misconfiguration. Some security function, some security settings or something will be there. And if it is being misconfigured, that's where that will be the basic thing for a security vulnerability, right? So that is this is similar to that. So security misconfiguration occurs when an application is not set up securely, allowing in unintended access or exposure of sensitive information. So here I've given you the example. So in the first request, you can see database config file is being in this request, the via get method, the database contents of database config.json file is being rendered, and which was not supposed to be, but actually it is allowing me to see the files, means that particular contents of that file, means then that is a security misconfiguration. So it was supposed to be not universally readable, but due to misconfiguration it was readable, and I was able to see the internal contents of that particular file. So this is a perfect example for sensitive information, security misconfiguration. And improper inventory management. So when an API isn't properly documented, or the inventories which is being used, right? So which is not properly documented, falls under this improper inventory management. So I've already shown you the example here in the intruder. Okay, I'll do it again. I've lost that request. Okay, let me reset. Decode example. I'm typing something else here, and okay, let me capture this request. Here you can see the version of this API is v3. And if I'm changing it to v2 and I'm still able to access that, bypass that particular feature, that particular restriction, and I was able to send multiple the OTPs multiple times, right? So that is a perfect example. So it is not well documented and well managed. So the inventory was not managed. It was supposed to be either hidden or deleted from the previous version was supposed to be hidden or deleted, right? So it was still accessible, and I was able to be using that, I was able to do rate limiting. So here I've given you the example. This is from official OWASP website itself. So I've utilized it. It matches very well. So I've utilized it. So here you can see a social network implemented a rate limiting mechanism that blocks attackers from using brute force to guess the password. So this mechanism wasn't implemented as a part of the API code itself, but in a separate component between the client and the official API. So the API is API social network.gopalswamy.com. A researcher found that there was a beta API for a beta URL for that particular API, and this beta was not protected by rate limiting. So actually api.socialnetwork.com, that website was protected, whereas beta.api.socialnetwork.com was not protected, but it performs the same process, same use case. So it performs the same action. So here the attacker is utilizing this beta.api website and initiating the rate limiting attack, and was able to perform the attack against the website. So this is a perfect example for this. So this is this vulnerability is a best example for improper inventory management. So here you can see in this request, the rate limiting, the last three headers, you can see there was a rate limiting being implemented, whereas in the beta there was those headers was not there, which means that it is not protected for rate limiting vulnerability. So, and then unsafe consumption of APIs. So you would have seen, you might see have seen that companies utilize third-party APIs for any actions, for either be it managing a profile or profile upload functionalities, or retrieving something from that website. It will be utilizing third-party APIs. So without proper assessment, it is being utilized. Then based on that, if let's say that third-party API is vulnerable to some other vulnerability, and then because since we are utilizing that API, since we are consuming that API, we were able to exploit that API, and that actually affects the current consumer as well. So who is consuming that API endpoint? Here you can see the upload file for file upload. Let's say take an example that it's being maintained by a third party. So third party is vulnerable to file upload vulnerability, means then obviously it is going to affect this particular website which is consuming that third party website for handling the file uploads, right? So this is a perfect example for unsafe consumption of APIs. So automating API security. Let me show you this thing. So automating, we are going to do two things. One is we are going to test unauthorized endpoints using Postman. Postman can be, it's a best tool for checking unauthorized endpoints. I don't know how many of you know this technique, but still there is a way to check unauthorized endpoints. Let me go to Linux. This actually saves ton of your time. So you can save a lot of your time and check whether your endpoints are being accessible without any token or something like that. I've utilized this in my testing and found a lot of sensitive information PIs and sensitive information exposure vulnerabilities. You have to go to you have to import your collection to Postman, and then you have to click on this and click on run collection. You will see options like this. Before that, you have to set the variables here. Okay, so you have to set the variable here. I've placed my local host URL, which is the CR API. So that particular vulnerable application, right? So that URL, I've placed it here, and then you have to click on advanced settings.
You have 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I'll close. So run collection without using stored cookies. You have to check this box and run it. Click on run. It will automatically check these endpoints without cookies. And if you are getting 200, okay, so few endpoints are being accessible by normal users without cookies itself. So you can omit that. But for few endpoints, which was supposed to be accessed with the help of authorization token, which I have shown you previously, right? So if you are able to able to see 200 okay for those requests, you can confirm that it is being accessible by unauthorized users, and via that endpoint, sensitive information can be disclosed. This is one way. And now let's combine Burp Suite and Burp Suite, Authorize, and Postman, and do an automation. This is a perfect combo for to find a lot of IDORs and broken access control issues and BOLA, these kind of vulnerabilities as well. So this is a perfect combo. We are going to do the same thing, but in a different way. First, let me run collections. Here, Authorize is an extension which is going to help you for checking IDORs. Let me take the sample token and configure it. There were a good number of tutorials available on the internet. You can utilize those. Here it is. I'm going to inject my authorization token here. Okay. And I've turned on Authorize. Now, whatever request which is being sent from, I've already configured Postman with Burp Suite. So you can go to settings and set up that proxy. It's same as you're setting up your Burp Suite with Firefox or Chrome, right? So same URL and port number, you can use it. And once you are initiating this, at the same time, you can see those requests are being sent. You can see that in your history, it's passing through Burp Suite. So you can see the request hitting Authorize as well. Here, if you see bypassed, there were two mechanisms. So one is authorized and another one is unauthorized. So bypassed means it's saying that the particular endpoint is vulnerable to unauthorized. It is being accessible either by unauthorized or other users. So other user, it's like BOLA. We can check. We have exploited BOLA, right? So that falls under authorization because we have an authorized token and we are accessing other users' information. So if that is being successfully exploited, then you can refer to this particular tab, authorized status, authorization status. And if it is accessible, the same endpoint is accessible without authorization, then you can check this particular tab. So here you can see bypass. These endpoints are bypassed, but there is some false positive for this collection because I was supposed to not to use the legitimate collections, right? So I'm using the same crappy collections itself. So it is having a lot of what to say, false positive. So you have to manually check it. But this is actually a perfect combo which helps you to find IDOR and other vulnerabilities. So enforced means it is protected. Is enforced means you have to check it manually. Bypass means it's confirmed. So authorize is confirming that there is a vulnerability for sure. And that's it. You can testing tips. So check for authorization issues. Whenever you are testing APIs, you have to check for authorization issues and inspect token contents with the help of jwt.io. First, I've given you an example, right? Shown you a decoder. So I've utilized jwt.io or token.dev you can use and check for rate limiting issues, response manipulation when the application is handling request on, validating the request on client side. So then response manipulation will be there. And BOLA, check for BOLA and the body content of the URL parameter and RFI, different tampering issues like payment tamperings are easily possible if there is a response manipulation. You can chain those vulnerabilities and get tampering issues, different tampering issues, and always check burp history. Don't forget to check burp history because some few requests will go along with the previous request. So there is a chance that you might miss those requests. So keep an eye on burp history. And when the website is handling third-party payment gateway, then you have to definitely check it multiple times. So you have to check the request carefully. This is the testing tips. You can see those. And question and Q&A. If you have any questions, do drop it.